My name is John Kennedy, and I am the writer and director of this short film called Immigration Then and Now, with a reporter doing an article on Italian immigrants. He's there to interview a lady who came over with her family back in 1956, and what it was like for her, and that's what he's there to find out. In his car, I'm using one softbox to illuminate this scene of Nick Banyan in the front seat. And he's talking to his editor on the phone about any last minute suggestions his editor might have. So Nick hangs up and gets out of the car and walks up the sidewalk. When he gets to the front door and the lights come on, and then I guess Mrs. Giacometti saw him coming up to the front when his car pulled in, but he knocks on the door, and she comes. Mrs. Giacometti's daughter, Elena, comes to the door, and for this scene, I have the two lights on the either side of the door. I thought were pretty adequate lighting, but I added one softbox to the scene as well. That might have been a mistake, but I think it worked out pretty good. And then the front hallway, when Nick and Elena are standing in the hallway, I have two soft boxes being used to illuminate that area. And then Elena leads them into the sitting room where down the hallway to the sitting room. And in the hallway, I have a kicker light just out of sight halfway down the hall to help light up the hallway. And then coming around the corner into the sitting room, Elena leads Nick into the room and introduces him to Mrs. Giacometti. He sits down, and Elena sits down, and they in this room I'm using one softbox and the table lamps around the room for the adequate lighting. Then Nick breaks out his tape recorder, sets it on the table, and says he will just be taping the interview and assuring Mrs. Giacometti that this will be painless and that his readers are very, very much looking forward to hearing what she has to say. And so he makes her feel relaxed and wants her to just feel very, very comfortable and natural and just tell him the journey, the adventure that she went on, leaving Italy and coming to the United States. So she just gets right into it and says that her husband had gotten a job at Brown University in Providence. So they were leaving the small town of Gubbio, and she was 8 months pregnant and going down to Naples and getting on leaving. She had never been outside the city limits of Gubbio, and now she's on her way to the United States, and now she's down in Naples and never been to Naples before. And leaving, she gets on the Andrea Doria, which is a famous luxury ocean liner at the time, and they come across halfway, or not even halfway, across leaving Naples. She has her baby, and it's a baby girl, and she names the girl Andrea after the boat, and the captain of the Andrea Doria becomes the godfather of the baby. It's a baby girl, and the trip to New York, when they get there, it's dead of winter and it's freezing cold, and they don't speak any English, and they get through customs, and and immigration, and then they have to deal with cabbies getting to a place to stay the night because it's late at night, and they can't make it out to Providence at this time of night, so they're going to find a place in town and make it out the following day. That's where her segment of the story stops. Then we get, but the story of the Andrea Doria doesn't. That was winter. The following summer, the Andrea Doria was in an accident. A ship ran into the Andrea Doria, and the Andrea Doria sank off the coast of New York City. It was on one of those voyages from Italy to New York again. And so at this point, Nick changes the interest from Mrs. Giacometti to Mrs. Giacometti's daughter, who is a lawyer and wants to talk about immigration as the changes it's gone through since 1956, when Mrs. Giacometti and her husband came across, to now. And so she indicates that the major change was with when Ronald Reagan was president, and he changed or introduced the law of amnesty for in exchange for increased border security, and that seemed to work well, but not terribly well. And then Obama, much later, introduced the Dreamers Act, which was a step in the right direction. At least I thought that, and wanted to talk a bit. I wanted her to talk a bit about that, and then we have the current president trying to undo everything that Obama put in place. Hopefully that does not happen, but that's out of my hands and out of your hands too, I'm sure. But hopefully that won't happen. Now, after Nick had thanked the ladies for their time and their stories, and especially Mrs. Giacometti for her time, and thanking her for letting him into her house to conduct the interview. And so that was it. He wished them a good night and made it back out to his car. And this is a short story, but I think I'm going to add to it and see where it goes. Thank you very much for watching this short film. I hope you liked it. This commentary is kind of sketchy, but I think I covered the info necessary. All right, thank you.